The following is a presentation of the Broadband universe, brought to you in part by Vitruvi, the end-to-end GIS-based construction management platform that connects asset owners, operators, general contractors, and subcontractors for unmatched project control and collaboration. Manage every aspect of your telecommunications or utility infrastructure construction program with Vitruvi. Build faster, reduce costs, improve quality. Book your demo today on vitruvisoftware.com to see how we can help you build at scale. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Broadband Universe podcast. I'm Craig Corbin, and it is a pleasure to welcome my guest today, Anthony Kewitch, the CEO of Telescent, and Josh Snowhorn, CEO of Loophole. And guys, welcome. Thanks for being with me today.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. This is a big week as far as what has gone on. Of course, Telescent, the leading manufacturer of automated fiber cross-connects for data centers with a large-scale, low-loss, robotic patch panel solution. Loophole, a master-planned clean cloud communities, which take the guesswork out of data center development, uniquely addressing the scalability, connectivity, and cost efficiency challenges today's large-scale deployments. And of course, this week, the announcement, gentlemen, of the agreement for Telescent's automated interconnect system to be deployed at Loophole's Q-Loop fiber network and the Quantum Maryland data center campus. And a lot of excitement with that announcement. Anthony, let's start with you. Big week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited to announce the deployment with Josh. We've been working with Josh probably for several years now since the inception, and really excited. He's got a great team. So I could mention a little bit about Telescent and our solution and maybe kick it off.
Absolutely, thanks.
We automate the fiber layer of networks, which is really the basic infrastructure, the plumbing of all the internet connections. And we offer a solution to automate all of those fiber connections, actually using a robot. In back of me is actually one of our systems. You can't see the robot. It's behind the door there, but it allows all the interconnects to be managed through software now. So it extends what's called software-defined networking all the way down to the physical layer now. So the advantages of that are you can instantly now provision connections, and it gets rid of the human element. Because it's done manually today, anytime a person makes these connections, oftentimes the records are incorrect. So one of the big benefits of having a robot is everything is recorded exactly the way it is. So the inventory records are absolutely correct, and also things can be done instantly. So I know in the press release we talked a lot about some of the benefits, and one of those is really instant service provisioning. So you probably know if you need to get internet connected to your home, it could take a couple weeks because people are going out in trucks, for example, making connections. And for enterprises, it's even a larger, more involved process. So with something like the Telescent solution, services can be provisioned now in minutes. So it's really revolutionary. It gets rid of the truck rolls, the people, the errors, and that really long delay to turn up services. And as for cloud services nowadays, there's really a need to start provisioning that quickly. And we offer the system to support that.
It seems as though, Anthony, that is sort of the holy grail when you talk about greater accuracy, phenomenal increase in the speed, and eliminating truck rolls. That is something that makes a huge impact on the bottom line of operations. And Josh, from your standpoint, let's talk about what this agreement will mean for the incredible development that's underway in Maryland.
I mean, what Tony has created is really revolutionary. If you think about the scale of what we're doing at our campus in Maryland, it's we're 20 miles from Equinix Ashburn, the center of the internet, really, for interconnection. We're building a fiber ring that can accommodate 235,000 plus strands of fiber. It's the biggest medium haul fiber ring ever built. We're boring under the Potomac twice. Managing the interconnection of that scale of fiber optics, in addition to outside plant carriers who are all building into the campus, and a campus that can accommodate over 2.5 gigawatts of current today grid scale power. how do we deal with interconnection at that scale and do it rapidly? So Tony's solution allows us to, first of all, not hire a huge team of 24/7 interconnection folks, which would, in our case, be almost nonstop. Once the machines are pre-patched, our customers log into a portal and they provision their cross connects. They can deploy Tony's machines via Telescent into their data centers on the campus, but also down across campuses across Loudoun County, Prince William County, and then connect everything through seamlessly in one giant system. So you could have 20 buildings connected across the same fiber system, and they could do a cross connect simultaneously in 2 minutes without truck rolls. That's revolutionary.
No doubt. And one of the things that I noted, a couple of the quotes in the release that stood out to me, you had said that you're going to be on track to enable one of the largest regional fiber network or backbones to ever be built with that automatic direct connectivity between Frederick, Maryland and the Northern Virginia ecosystem. And when you talk about processing cross connects in minutes rather than hours and days, that is a staggering change in what has been the norm. Talk about that.
Absolutely. My history previously, I ran interconnection at Cyrus One for years, developed that platform there, and then I was employee number 6 and ran interconnection at Terramark. So I built Map of the Americas, which connects North and South America. I've dealt with endless calls for RxTX reversals, and just one cross connect will make a gigantic customer unhappy because they get frustrated in just trying to turn up a service. So if we can get rid of that and create this seamless sea change for interconnection, just the lack of phone calls in the middle of the night is just going to be wonderful right there. I should pay Tony a commission every time I don't have to take a phone call. That should somehow kick in.
You're talking about life-changing differences here, and Anthony, from your perspective, I'm always intrigued with how concepts come into being. What was the genesis for this platform?
Well, when I was looking at really how to automate connections, a lot of folks have tried over the years. So it's a problem that probably has stymied researchers for maybe 2 decades. And the fundamental problem is if you look at cables and interconnects, they essentially tangle. As people are plugging things in, disconnecting, you start having a real mess of disorganized cables that becomes a real problem after a few years. So it might look really good on day one, but after a few years, it's a big problem. So my background is physics, and there's an area of mathematics called theory of knots and braids. And it turns out that a fiber is essentially a mathematical strand. So we then developed a whole routing algorithm to enable a robot to physically move these strands without entangling. So it's a pretty neat breakthrough technologically based on mathematics. So the real innovation here is the software intelligence to drive this system based on this algorithm.
I would think that may be the understatement of this conversation, that it's a pretty neat development, because that is a staggering sea change with respect to how all of this takes place. And one of the things that I noted in the release, you had remarked that this agreement and what will be done with the Q-Loop fiber ring and the data center development there will not only kick into motion the next phase of growth for Telescent, but you now have the opportunity to illustrate the powerful capabilities that the automated cross-connect platform brings. Talk about that from the standpoint of the ability to have such a phenomenal opportunity.
Yeah, well, what's so unique about what Josh is doing is it's a true greenfield build. So everything, one can take a clean slate and really engineer it to be fully automated. Nearly every other customer doesn't have that benefit. They have a legacy with millions of connections that are managed manually, where they're actually afraid to put new equipment in because they may disconnect live circuits in that process. So that, coupled with Josh being a real visionary, I mean, his team is amazing. We deal with several dozen customers, and by far Josh's team really sees the future and is embracing automation in a way that others have not yet. So having them really deploy first, it really sets the stage, I think, for the whole industry to slowly follow what Josh and his team are doing. They're really the trailblazers, and I think Josh is a real maverick in this area, doing things in the right way.
I don't
Absolutely.
fly jets though, like Maverick. I need to work on that.
You're watching the Broadband Universe podcast, brought to you by Lit Communities. Light up your community. You deserve better internet. By Vetro Fiber Map, radically simpler fiber management. By OnTrack, a proven leader in connectivity. And by Vitruvi, built faster, reduce costs, and improve quality. My guests today, Anthony Kewitch, CEO of Telescent, and Josh Snowhorn, CEO of Quantum Loophole. And Josh, Anthony just mentioned the pioneering efforts that are going on with what's being built there in Maryland, and it really is amazing when we talk about the scale of the operation there. Talk about how that project in its whole. We've seen so much development nationwide with data centers. Where I am in Metro Atlanta, they are growing like mushrooms all around the area. But without question, what is being done there with the Q Loop is phenomenal.
So it really came from our team's history and looking at what we developed. My team's comes from Terramark and Cyrus One, as I said, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, you name it, we've come from there. Extreme telecom depth and extreme data center depth. And when we look at the context of what we could do as a team, we could have gone out and become another data center player. We could have gone out and raised lots of capital, infrastructure, kind of digital infra money now. There's a lot of Wall Street dollars still chasing that because we're sort of the thing that's still growing even with a real estate downturn. But we would have been a rubber stamp replicant of what everybody else is doing. And we viewed that as a commoditized play, meaning we'd have to spin up huge teams and staff. Those employees are expensive and difficult to get now. And we'd be competing with folks we know really well and going head to head and driving down price. So we looked at it as something, what do customers really need? Meaning data center, multi-tenants, hyperscalers, government, enterprise who are building their own sites. They need land, energy, water, and fiber optics. So we play in those elements of the data center business that we view as non-commoditized and beneficial to the community, take the guesswork and pain out of development and allow them to scale up rapidly. All those pieces are in play. All the power is ready to be delivered. The land is entitled. The big fiber's there. And we have, in our case, gray water that's treated sewage water to cool everything. So it's extremely sustainable, and we can replicate that in Chicago, Dallas, California as well. So we're pretty excited about that.
You're talking about an equation that really does make life so much more simple for the people that you talked about, because even one component of that equation, getting energy, the power requirements that are needed are immense, and so I know that this will be received well. I'm always curious about the timelines that are in place for projects. Give us the anticipated completion date for this particular project.
Well, the land is there, so we haven't had to complete that. That's luckily Mother Earth has given us the dirt. It's a former Alcoa aluminum smelter site, so it had all of the entitlement in place, and that was the big key. And we've gotten preliminary plat approvals and mass grading permits, and all that work is starting. But the real time delay is always going to be power these days, more than anything. So we have a 14-month deadline now to complete our first 1,000 MVA scaled substation yard. That's bringing transmission scale power from First Energy. We're not on Dominion system, which is, thank goodness right now. Honestly, we're not on their system, but it allows us to rapidly deliver mass scale transmission power and not distribution power. The next tail that wags the dog a bit is, of course, the fiber ring. It is the biggest fiber ring ever built, and it's built at a depth of 5 feet, which exceeds DoD Level 4 standards for securitization for government services. And we are 91 feet below the bedrock of the Potomac River. I'm watching a video right now of the boring machine getting ready to turn on, so that's my favorite thing every day. We're back reaming that at 24 inches and then 36 inches to pull these huge sleeves through that are similar to a gas pipeline, and then 34 2-inch interducts go inside of that. That deadline as well is around 13 to 14 months. So we have all these things that are working in lockstep to harmoniously create the biggest data center campus in the world and enable it with power and connectivity.
This is so exciting when you talk about the fact that this truly is a revolutionary approach, both with what your organization has envisioned and the partnership now with Telescent. And Anthony, I know it has to be invigorating for you and your team to know the opportunity that you are now a part of. Talk about that, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Josh, he talks about millions of fibers on his campus, and that's really, we've always, as a company, focused on big scale, because this algorithm I mentioned, it really is one that naturally scales to really large port counts. So I think it demonstrates the scale of the platform. It also demonstrates the scale of our ability to produce. We actually build maybe within an hour from where Josh is in Austin, Texas at Flextronics, where we build the product. So we have the ability to scale to many millions of interconnects using that established supply chain. So it's really exciting. It proves out many things, the solution as well as our capability to really deliver at a large scale, which is so important for other customers down the road as well.
Would you agree that this would be the ultimate showcase for your platform?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And being in a campus like Josh's, there's so much exposure now to all the other companies that locate within that. So it's a really synergistic environment where any one of Josh's customers could potentially be a customer of Telescent and benefit in a similar way. So it builds an exciting, in our industry, there's this network effect where when one uses it, it makes it more valuable when the second one uses it and the third. So it's really forming this network effect in the Ashburn, Virginia, Maryland area, which is, the epicenter of data centers. So it's a great place to get started.
And the dominoes will fall across the country as a result of that. I'm excited just to learn of this and envision what it will mean for the future of additional developments going forward. And the bottom line is that the organizations that utilize the data centers will be benefiting tremendously from this association. Josh, always like to ask for the crystal ball question, and that's the look down the line of the future, 5-10 years. What do you think that the agreement that is coming to being this week will mean for your organization and the industry as a whole down the road?
It's interesting. As a company, we try and think out of the box in everything we do. It's always easy to step back into what you're comfortable with, but we always try and look to the future. We are underneath the covers of the planning cycles in all the way out to 15 years for the hyperscale industry. As that starts to happen, we're actually developing these gigantic campuses to create data center cities, essentially. They're going to require city-scale interconnection. As Tony alluded to, will be millions of connections across our campus in Maryland, campuses we're putting in place in Chicago, Dallas, and California. This is a long-term plan to change the data center ecosystem and how they deploy and what they do, and it requires automation and mass-scale thinking to do that. That's all we focus on, and that includes Telescent's automated machines. It includes energy, it includes land, entitlement, water, and most importantly, sustainability. And we're quite excited to have Telescent involved with us.
No doubt. Anthony, same question to you. I know that the excitement is palpable for you, your team, with the opportunity that is now in place. Talk about that.
Yeah, and in the future, we see this really, Josh is building this huge multi-tenant data center complex. But actually, most of the fiber interconnects today are either in hyperscalers or telco facilities. That's where there's hundreds of millions of these interconnects. So we see a bright future where eventually this would be the norm for automation in hyperscaler data centers, in telcos, say fiber to the home, mobile networks, they all depend on fiber going forward. So it's a really rich opportunity. And also, as you probably hear a lot about edge computing, things moving to the edge. Yep. Well, the edge also implies there's typically not people in these locations. They're unmanned. So the value of automation is that much more compelling now. It eliminates the need to send truck rolls. It could take hours to get to some of these locations. And the carbon footprint associated with doing that, the labor is very costly.
Very much a part of the autonomous infrastructure that is becoming reality everywhere. Gentlemen, can't be more excited for the both of you, the agreement announced this week. I can't wait to circle back down the line to see how this all plays out. Josh, best of luck with the development of the organization. Anthony, congratulations on this phenomenal opportunity. Can't wait to see what transpires. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks
right.
again, Josh.
Absolutely. And
My pleasure.
on behalf of Josh and Anthony, I'm Craig. We'll see you next time. Thanks for letting us be a part of your day right here on the Broadband Universe. So long, everyone.